Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for the lunar eclipse in Aquarius occurring on the 27th of July at 3:22 p.m. Central Standard Time. I deliberately set it to my time zone because I'm so tired of the East Coast always getting all the, deferential treatment. But in Europe, it will also be on the 27th. It'll be Australia and those in Asian countries where it will be on the 28th. Okay, so in any case, wherever it is in your neck of the woods, this is going to be a very powerful full moon. The lunar eclipse is a time when things can seem to be taken away. Or if we look at the other elements of a full moon, be revealed to us, secrets, maybe on a massive scale. And this could, I believe, involve everyone within a country, within this world even, because Aquarius represents the collective. And so if there are a lot of people waiting to hear what really happened about a certain event, that it may be a political event, let's talk about it in those terms, because to me, Aquarius is like politics and our government to some degree in terms of how things work together for the people. There may be this big reveal, and it may be on an individual basis where people are spilling their guts, singing like canaries, and doing so for the benefit of mankind. I've never lived through such a bizarre period of time where it seems like there's one group of people who thinks the secrets revealed are going to prove to them that another group is really evil. And the same thing with that other group, thinking about the first group. And people think they're the ones that are bad. No, you're the ones that are bad. And of course, I'm coming from the perspective of living in the United States of America. Wherever you live, there may be political intrigue, or in your personal life, there may be things that are just below the surface. And Aquarius is an erratic sign. It's unpredictable because of that ruler, Uranus. And so that could also be playing into things and making people feel like they have nothing to lose, like they should just do whatever feels good. And Aquarius, by the way, is an air sign, so it is kind of detached. It might not think about the emotional impact of what it's doing. So for the moon to be in Aquarius, there is like this strange detachment at a time when emotions are supposed to be heightened. And that could lead to things coming out, being purged. And maybe the person didn't even intend for it to happen, but it just goes in that direction. And I'll tell you why I think that this is occurring, besides the fact that the full moon is actually a lunar eclipse, and also besides the fact that it's in Aquarius. It's because the moon is in conjunction with Mars at this time, which means that there could be a lot of emotional impulsiveness of doing something on emotion. Now, the moon, guess what? Aquarius and Mars, Aquarius, within 1 degree of each other. Aquarius, again, can be unpredictable. So when you have the moon in conjunction with Mars in Aquarius, anything can happen, including revolution. And if somebody decides, hey, this is a good idea, let's all get together and speak on social media, by the way, which Uranus, Aquarius is also connected to, inventions, technology. and maybe get together and do something spontaneous, like a spontaneous protest, that could lead to something that has far-reaching consequences. So even in one's personal life, there could be a lot of drama going on, because at any full moon, the sun and the moon are opposing one another. So it's almost like light and dark, if you will. The shadow and the light, how would I put it, the enlightened version of each of us, and doing battle, kind of seesawing, going back and forth. Who will win over? Will the shadow win or will the light win? And actually, it's about integration. It's not about dominating one part of it. You know, a lot of people that when I'm reading social media remarks, say, oh, no, not negativity here, only good vibes. When somebody says only good vibes, they're not looking at their shadow, and they're not looking at the collective shadow. And how in the world can you evolve spiritually and to even function if you are afraid of anything but good vibes? Of course, good vibes are awesome, but what constitutes bad vibes? Someone saying something that makes you think, but is kind of like threatening your worldview? Is that bad vibes? Aquarius can be a rebel without a cause. And yet, I feel that there's a cause with what's going on here. The people may not go about it in precisely the right way. It might get kind of messy, but I feel like the sheeple are waking up. And the people who already consider themselves woke, I just laugh every time I utter that word, they are going to welcome the rest of the people who have been asleep into their tribe. And it's going to be a very interesting ride. Now, remember that we're talking about a date of the 27th or the 28th, but that's not necessarily when the effects of this revolutionary energy will come to a head. We might see something along those, in that time frame, simply because of the other transits that are also happening. But I think that we have to remember that solar and lunar eclipses have a much longer staying power in terms of their influence. And I've heard up to 6 months, or even longer than that. But this could be some drama that plays out through the rest of 2018. So looking at some of the other aspects here, we have the sun in opposition to Mars. So this can be, I don't want to say, oh, this is dangerous with the conjunction of the moon and Mars and the sun opposing Mars. But some people's egos may be out of whack. And they may, I'm thinking especially in personal relationships, that people who feel like they are the victim and yet they are the perpetrator, they may feel like a trapped animal. So if you're with somebody who's a narcissist and you start getting emboldened because you're feeling that Uranian energy and you decide to take this opportunity to declare your freedom from this person, be careful during this full moon cycle, the actual, few days, surrounding the 27th. Because we have Mars retrograding, so that can bring up old battles. Mercury has just retrograded in Leo. So Mercury retrograde could even bring old relationships back into your life, and you could just go right into old dramas, okay? So be careful about that, because you may be the type of person who typically feels like a victim, and this may have nothing to do with knowing what I'm saying. You may forget what I'm saying, and then when that time arises, start just feeling ballsy and just start standing up to this person. And it could be a bad move on your part, because don't forget, they are also emboldened. And yet they are deluded to begin with. So it's not a good combination, to say the least. And remember, too, that with the sun and moon being in fixed signs, this can increase the intensity of the energy and the opposition, because both sides, when you think of oppositions, it's like two sides, two very clear-cut sides. Both sides are coming from extreme positions, and they are not budging because they're fixed signs. So that could lead to, that obstinacy could lead to a lot of stubbornness that doesn't yield to any kind of pleas for reason. Taurus gets a bad rap of being stubborn as hell and being the kind of sign that, the bull that digs in their heels and refuses to cooperate. But this is true of Leo, of Scorpio, and Aquarius. And when you're looking at it in terms of these transits, it's like, whoa, because we have a lot of it happening. Sun in Leo, Moon in Aquarius, Mercury in Leo. So the thoughts are fixated. That's what obsessiveness is, fixation. Venus is in Virgo and Mars is in Aquarius. So because Jupiter has gone direct now, Jupiter has much more momentum, and Jupiter is in, wait for it, another fixed sign, Scorpio. So Jupiter is definitely figuring into this particular mix, and Jupiter just like injects steroids into everything that it contacts. So the Sun square Jupiter, delusions of grandeur. You could call it the Norma Desmond syndrome, Sunset Boulevard. I'm waiting for my close-up. People who are deluded in their lives, and they could be aided and embedded by social media, for instance, to think that they have some kind of a status in life that is not true, that they're living in this fantasy world. Clashing with the inflated, it's like an inflated ego, let's put it that way. But I always think of squares as kind of like crashing into the reality of the situation and it being like rather uncomfortable, because it's like you're not going anywhere. So that can create frustration for people when they feel like they are being blocked. That's kind of where I was going with that. The block, the square. The Moon square Jupiter, emotional excess. At the same time that there's a conjunction between the Moon and Mars in Aquarius. So the person feels a little bit too many emotions, or they're blowing up their emotions about a particular issue, and then they are acting on those impulses in a very devil may care way of like, hey, my way or the highway. Mercury square Jupiter. This could affect social media. What kind of lies, things are being inflated that have to do with communication, the news, journalism, what passes for journalism in 2018. And Mars square Jupiter, I keep hearing this word extra, being extra, acting extra, acting in excess. So this combination will be quite a doozy, to put it mildly. So what day of the week does this fall? Oh, lovely. Couldn't happen on a better day, eh? The 27th is a Friday. So either Friday or Saturday night, well, afternoon, let's put it that way, where I am. For some of you, if you're in the UK or other places in Europe, it's going to be Friday night. Okay, so that's going to be quite interesting. I'm going to stock up on popcorn, everyone. Okay. One thing that I want to say, too, that I think is very important is that with these hard angles and Leo being involved, there can be the ego running amok. Leo is associated with having a huge ego, as we all know. Of course, that is a gross exaggeration of a shadow aspect of Leo. The most well-balanced Leo people are going to be quite modest in their bragging about themselves, but they will exude a natural confidence and natural leadership abilities. But then there's the other type of Leo, the one that doesn't feel good about themselves, and they can be petty tyrants. To quote Wayne Dyer, I don't know if he made up that term, but the people that assume positions of authority only to kind of get their fix of power, but it's in a very petty arena of like the workplace, for instance, or as a parent, where it's kind of like you are dealing with people who are dependent or desperate, and you know that you've got them, so you can toy with them. And that's not personal power. Thankfully, this is not every Leo person. But in general, because this influence will affect all of us, looking at ways where we allow ourselves to be offended by others and use that as an excuse to badmouth them, to exaggerate the situation, make it more than what it is so that we can, I guess, gain sympathy, or to drag their name in the mud. And just as self-aggrandizement, because we have a distorted view of ourselves. How do we do this, and why do we do this? Well, I just kind of told you why people do that. Being vengeful. And why are people vengeful? Because they feel slighted. They feel that somebody dissed them, and they want to make that person suffer in different ways. Now, not everybody does something violent in terms of being vengeful, but there are things that people do that are very injurious to others that don't involve physical contact. Writing a bad review of a restaurant because, or a cafe. I see this all the time, where the person that took care of you didn't treat you as respectfully as you had hoped that they would. And so you write a terrible review of the place and give it 1 star on Yelp and badmouth the place. You may not know, you may misinterpreted what that person did and thought it had something to do with them not liking you. I've had that happen many times where, I'm not being treated in a friendly way. And I always check myself. I always say, you don't know. This is your interpretation of it. And sometimes you really feel strongly about it. It really feels negative. You feel icky, inside. But to take that experience and then to make it public and to drag a whole business into the mud because your feelings were hurt is, to me, vengeful. You could always call the company, but I wouldn't even do that because I don't want somebody to lose their job, even if they did treat me in a snarky manner. It's like I don't need to be catered to. But I understand that people get very offended by that. It's more a question of keeping your ego in check and not acting like you're some king or queen because you're paying somebody to do something for you. That doesn't, just because you pay somebody to do a service doesn't mean that it's that you're royalty. It's like, yeah, everyone should be treated with respect, but some people don't like their jobs. We have to see the bigger picture. And that doesn't excuse their behavior, but I know that I'm kind of rambling about this. It just is something that I think is very important to discuss because people's egos might get out of control here. And they take a little slight and they, like a molehill, they make it into a mountain for no reason other than their feelings were bruised. And we have to learn how to bear these things with more grace because to me it's part of life, okay? And if you disagree, let me know in the comments section. I'm perfectly willing to listen to your side of things. What's the good stuff that's happening here? I don't want to just say negative stuff. Well, I just think that it's really cool to have this eclipse in Aquarius because I think this will break the chains that bind you. I think I just found my title because I think that, and I've read that the full moon in Aquarius, and of course this is heightened by being a lunar eclipse, is a time of breaking bad habits. But bad habits are not just smoking, drinking, eating too much, whatever. It's about maybe a relationship that has kept you ensnared, that you know is not good for you, but you just can't figure out how to extricate yourself from it. It could be something involving perhaps leaving a job that has long since grown stale for you, that you're not growing. And you're just too set in your ways to do anything about it. This may be a kick in the butt. Sometimes these changes come as a kick in the butt in terms of like, okay, this is happening now in your life, like the Tower card. Okay, now what? And what? What are you going to do about this? You just had this change in your life. And if you are the one making the changes, I think that you benefit the most because you're taking charge of your life. If you wait for the changes to occur to you, good luck with that. Maybe some of them will all, I think, work out eventually, but it may feel more unnerving in the short term. Also, we have a healing water trine between Jupiter and Neptune, and this can bring, I think, anything, even though this is water and we associate it with the emotions perhaps or the spiritual side of life, I also think this can be very good for manifesting material prosperity because Jupiter can actually be about money, and with Neptune, it's like anything can happen, right? And whether you're consciously visualizing for this to happen or it just drops in your lap, the trine is the easiest of angles and things can just come to you so effortlessly. But with these two planets connecting to spiritual matters, that is a really good time for those to be dealt with, but also concerning prosperity and your ideal life, what you would love to do. Neptune is all about idealism. So that can be wonderful. You have also another trine between Mercury and Uranus. So, now that doesn't sound right because because I was saying that doesn't sound right because Mercury is in Leo and actually is just starting retrograding. So how in the world if Uranus is in Taurus and they square off, but Leo's at a late degree. So Leo is almost in Virgo, but it really isn't. It's only at 23 degrees at this time. And Uranus is at 2 degrees of Taurus. So apparently they're going with the fact that thinking that Leo is, within 7 degrees of Virgo, and Virgo is an earth sign. So it trines with Uranus. I'm wondering if that's a pretty loose trine. I don't know. But anyway, this is another thing that can relate to not so much spiritual, but psychic. I mean, of course it's related. But you could have some very instantaneous insights into a particular situation in your life. Of course, that could benefit you materially or spiritually. What else? Well, I think I've said enough for now. And anyway, let me say this because this is kind of interesting. The North Node, called Rahu in Vedic astrology, is the sun is forming conjunction with Rahu at this time. And so what we're talking about is destiny. What did you come here to be? What did you come here to do? And maybe you'll have some insights into that with all this other psychic energy that's going on about what you came here to be. That is, to me, the greatest liberation, if you want to know the truth. I mean, it's easy to go to a protest march, but then you come home and you got to throw the signs in the recycling and then you move on with your life. When you align with your purpose, you change the game up totally. But you're not living in the same reality anymore. I liken it to almost like a game where it's almost like a challenge, and maybe even sometimes parents and teachers, society tries to keep you from your purpose, but you find it anyway. Now, this may be in middle age when this occurs, who knows? But you eventually find it, and you unlock the secrets of your own life that were kept from you. From others who might have been well-meaning, but they just didn't realize who you came here to be. And it's like you align with that. And so keep your heart open for that, for the possibility. If you've been feeling like you're kind of wandering around in the wilderness, you might find out what you came here to do, guys. And wouldn't that be great? And the truth shall set you free, because Aquarius is all about nonconformity too, not trying to live a cookie cutter life. And so this can be a very exciting time, and yet it can be, maybe a little bit too exciting at times, but we shall see. I wonder if I should invest in popcorn stocks, like, what do you call it? Orville Redenbacher stocks. Okay, you guys. Well, that's what I have for you. And I hope that you have a very liberating lunar eclipse in Aquarius. Take care. Bye.